definitely not your average vacation, but it's one you'll never forget. For in the midst of the unspoiled beauty of the Cumberland Mountains lies a river that can give you all of the excitement that you can handle. And even when you're relaxing, it can take your breath away. Known affectionately as Virginia's baby, Dickenson County is the home of the Russell Fork Whitewater Rafting Festival, which explodes with excitement each fall as whitewater enthusiasts from all over the world arrive to match their skills against the Russell Fork River. The Russell Fork offers visitors many moods and experiences. It can provide serene tranquility and awe-inspiring beauty as it flows through parts of the 1,600-foot Breaks Canyon. Family-style rafting can be enjoyed along several miles of the river to the Garden Hole. But then, as the river reaches the Breaks Canyon, the experts match their skills and resolve against the raging rapids and currents, to which they have given such names as Triple Drop, El Horrendo, and Climax. The downhill run on the Russell Fork has become well known as one of the most challenging in the world. Dickenson County was formed in 1880 from parts of surrounding counties and since has been known as Virginia's baby. About 1910, the Yellow Poplar Lumber Company moved into the area and built a huge concrete splash dam, the first and largest of its kind in the world. The water behind this dam was caught and held until it became an 85-acre lake. Into this lake were dumped thousands of giant poplar logs cut from the surrounding mountains and hauled by horse, mule, and oxen teams to the dumping site. When masses of logs lay behind the dam, a tremendous dynamite explosion was set off, which forced open the floodgates, allowing the huge mass of logs to catapult through the openings and down the gorge. The noise was deafening. The tremendous roar shook the surrounding hills for miles around and has remained a vivid memory to those few who were old enough to witness it. Dickenson County's oldest citizens remember how rafting on the Russell Fork began back in the early 1900s.
Each one of those sluices there, over the top, there was a big tree that was laid across each one of them, and these smaller spars that stuck down into the bottom of the trap, they were fastened through this log across there with cables, and the bottom of these spars were fastened to a trap or a trigger. And whatever they got the dam full and the logs full, they even put logs above there and below here both. And when they got ready, then they would set the explosion off and knock the trigger, let all the water through. And at times, after they got in operation, they built another dam at Haysi. And they would let that off up there, then by the time it got down here, then they would just set this one off and they'd both go together.
You couldn't hear nothing. When they turned that water loose, you know, it was worse than 4 freight trains running together. They'd have 4 or 5 of them rags together. There'd be 4 or 5 going out at the same time on them rags, you see. This one fella didn't run them, you see. He'd have them together, and about 4 or 5 fellas would get on. There'd be 2 fellas on each raft. And they had these oars that steered them rafts with. That some way keep them out of the banks, you know.
Behind this terrible flood of logs and water went the first known rafters of the Russell Fork. Theirs was a brutal and dangerous task, which began as the ice on the river was beginning to thaw. Although not undertaken for pleasure, the thrills on the icy river were plentiful, whether welcome or not. The rafters' job was to prevent log jams using long gouging poles to push the logs apart. Their rafts were simply made of logs lashed together with rope. Their lone luxury was an occasional strip of tin nailed to the logs to allow a small fire on board to ward off frostbite. Today, the old splash dam supports the bridge where State Route 611 crosses the Russell Fork and where many paddlers and rafters begin their whitewater adventure.